Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley starts now.
Good morning. We begin with that issue that Congress has kicked down the road for years, immigration reform. Lawmakers now addressing it after President Trump separated more than 2,300 children from moms and dads who entered the country illegally. Congressman Pete Sessions is our guest in D.C. this morning, where he has already introduced legislation to address some of this. He is the chairman of the House Rules Committee, and joining the questioning, as always, is Bud Kennedy of the Star-Telegram. Good morning to you, Congressman.
Morning, Jason. Morning, Pete.
Good morning. Good morning, Bud.
Let's talk about what's happening there in D.C. A hardline bill failed the House last week. You have your own bill on the floor. How is it different, and will you have the votes to get it passed?
Jason, thank you very much. As you know, it was an unprecedented group of people, some 60,000 people that approached the border. There were over 12,000 children. There has been a great deal of information about this group of people coming at one time to present themselves at the border. Never really happened this way before. We've had children that came up, and that was dealt with by the Obama administration. Of the some 12,000 children, 10,000 did not come with their parents. And sorting out 12,000 children to get to the 2,300 with their parents has been a task that was placed upon the administration, but really upon the men and women who work for the United States of America at the border.
Yeah,
it is a problem.
Tell us, Congressman, though, how you're going to introduce legislation to address this. What specifically do you have that's different?
Well, yes. So what happens is that the administration is working off of a series of court orders and other administrative procedures. We would like to simplify that into a law that this Congress right now understands that we would give to the administration and the American people. And it does a number of things that simplify what they're doing. It says that you will not separate these families, but they have to go through a process to determine who is and who is not in that family. And we give more judges that are available, and it could be implemented immediately if we could find a way to get it through the House, the Senate, and have the President sign it. We've been working with the administration on the bill. It is a brand new big issue, and I'm hoping that as quickly as Congress understands the bill, we'll be able to move forward to help. That's not just the American people, but all these families that are seeking this help.
And Chairman Sessions, that's my next question. Are there votes in the House for your legislation? And secondly, you have to get it to the Senate if you can pass it to the House. Are there votes in the Senate? You need the Democrats to help get it passed.
In fact, we do. And this is where it's trying to be a common sense approach whereby we answer the question that says you shall not separate people. You shall work with a family as they are, but you need to do it in an expedited basis. And this is where it's going to require the United States to undertake a quick and swift change, giving them one law that they can operate off of instead of court rulings and administrative procedure makes that easier. And yes, sir, I hope we will have a debate. We will have changes if they're necessary, but we can get this done.
Chairman, let's talk about, get away from illegal and illegal and talk about more or less. You've said in the past that you support reasonable, controlled immigration to the country. The President's actually said he wants to cut the number of legal immigrants allowed. Where do you stand now? Are you for more or less people coming to America?
Good question, Bud. The facts of the case are we take in about 1 million people legally in this country. Most of those people are through a lottery process. I am for changing that lottery process, that it's a guess, to one where we get the kind of workers that are called skilled workers, where skilled workers will come as a preference to the United States. I am for that. That's what the President's for. But legal and illegal immigration are separate topics. The President is aware that we've got to change our system to where we bring in people who are not only skilled, but that we effectively understand who is coming in this country, and our porous borders need to be addressed. So I think that's what Republicans, unfortunately by themselves, are trying to do this week in Washington with no help on this DACA issue from our friends that are Democrats.
You said this week, you said just now you want more judges. The President made fun of that. He said, more judges, what'll that do? I heard you make a comparison to the president moving on this, and it was like going to a bar fight without your team or something like that. Would you say the president wasn't in line with you on this?
No, I don't think that's the point. I think what the president effectively understands is this new piece of legislation will bring the one law as opposed to judicial rulings and administrative procedures. We have to deal with this issue. It is going to take rule of law and a great number of judges, so that is what we're going to add. I think the president may or may not have his own opinion about this, but the Congress has to help him solve the problem, and I think he will be with us on this issue.
Chairman, I want to switch topics on you real quick and ask you about something else here, too. There are reports of merging the Departments of Education and the Department of Labor. Is that an issue you support or oppose?
Well, it's not been anything that has come to a proposition where we've held hearings on this. I think the Department of Education is a wise investment for us. It would look differently under my own ideas. I think it's probably top heavy. I think it is seen as an impediment to solving problems, and I think that as the president does offer a reevaluation this next January of how he'd like to merge those departments, we need to look at it. But I am for the Department of Education soundly standing on behalf of understanding the educational opportunities and impediments and making sure they give good guidance to the states so states can make decisions, not the federal government.
Sounds good. Congressman Pete Sessions, a Dallas Republican and chairman of the House Rules Committee. Thank you for being here. Let's talk for a moment now about demographics. In 4 years, Hispanics will be the largest population in Texas, outnumbering all others. Are there political implications? You bet. But there is one drag on this statistic. Latinos just don't vote like other populations do. Ross Ramsey is in Austin for us, the co-founder and executive editor of the Texas Tribune. Good morning to you, Ross.
Hey, how are you?
We're doing well. You know, Democrats like to count on Hispanic support. Republicans have tried to make inroads there as well. As a majority, will Hispanics carry much clout? And if so, which party might benefit?
You know, the Republicans think that they can make some inroads with Hispanics. The Democrats have always counted Hispanics in their corner, at least in the last 40 or 50 years. I don't think that's guaranteed, but right now that's how Hispanics have been voting. As you said, the population between Hispanics and whites is more balanced than the electorate is. Right now it's a more white electorate. If that changes with the population, it'll certainly change the state's politics.
I want to switch off for a moment now and talk about national conventions, political conventions as well, too. Everyone was talking not too long ago about no one wanted the RNC, but Houston is on the short list now for the Democratic National Convention for 2020. Is Houston going all out for this?
They are going all out for it. The last convention there was in 1992, and the Republicans were in the old Astrodome. Sylvester Turner, the mayor, has the city in the last three that are vying for the July 2020 Democratic Convention, and he says he'll also bid for the 2024 Republican Convention. Houston wants to be on the map.
So no one wanted Republicans for 2020, it sounds like, but 2024, the mayor says he might go for it?
Right. So they had a Democratic convention in Houston, then they had a Republican one. They're going for a Democrat one, a Democrat convention first, and then a Republican convention again. They want it all. Houston is being bipartisan. Ross, back to you in a moment. Thank you very much. Immigrants seeking asylum is one angle of the border story that did not get much attention last week. But Debbie Georgiadis from 660 AM The Answer says asylum deserves a closer look. And my voice, my opinion.
Story this past week about kids and parents at our border is really about America's asylum policy. The purpose of asylum law is to protect those suffering from persecution. Historically, fraudulent asylum claims are rampant. Google asylum fraud. Asylum applications increased 1,700% under the Obama administration because lax immigration policy practically sent an invitation to flood our southern borders. Now, Pueblo Sin Fronteras, a radical leftist group that opposes all borders, is coaching border crossers how to get asylum. When Republicans proposed a bill on Tuesday that would have prevented separating parents and children and expedited asylum hearings, Democrats rejected it. Why? Because for them, this isn't about fixing asylum law or about children. It's about overrunning our border with people who have no legal right to enter America. Americans just want the rule of law and our borders protected. I'm Debbie Georgatos, and this is my voice, my opinion.
There's a new face on Dallas ISD School Board. Voters elected Justin Henry there to do one thing immediately. We'll talk to him in studio. And are Democrats overly confident about November? Flashpoint debates the so-called blue wave when Inside Texas Politics returns in 3 minutes. First, your Sunday Finds.
We shared an edited down version of what we called the Blobfish Basketball Classic. It was me versus Ted Cruz, one-on-one. It wasn't pretty, but we added all the statistics up. I missed my first 36 shots. For real. I went 9 for 103. I played so poorly, the Clippers offered me a 10-day contract today. That's right.
Want more SUV for your money? Every new Hyundai has an assortment of advanced safety features. It's a great deal more than just a great deal. Get up to $3,750 total savings or 0% APR on a 2018 Santa Fe Sport. Visit buyhyundai.com.
Hail forms when updrafts carry water droplets above the freezing line and back down to melt. This process repeats itself until the hailstone becomes too heavy and falls to earth.
The more you know about the weather, the better. WFAA Weather Minds, sponsored by TXU Energy.
TXU Energy free nights and solar days. It's two great things.
The solar part's better.
Beg to differ. Free nights is better. Burn.
Okay, guys, settle down.
You can't burn the sun.
Free nights and solar days only from TXU Energy.
Says the big ball of gas.
I love your new Corolla.
Oh, my robot butler?
Your what?
My robot butler. It has all this tech. Open table, orders movie tickets. It does everything I want.
Your Corolla?
Robot butler? Yes.
Does your robot butler have a name?
No, that'd be weird.
The 2018 Toyota Corolla, made for the modern world. Right now, get $2,000 customer cash, or qualified lessees can lease a stylish new 2018 Corolla LE for only $189 a month. Toyota, let's go places.
Is there really such a thing as too much of a good thing? Because summer is here, and you deserve to stay a little longer. Baja Mar Summer Spectacular. Book 3 nights and the 4th is free.
A little confidence goes a long way. The 2018 Nissan Titan comes standard with a 5.6-liter V8 and America's best truck warranty. That covers 5 years, 100,000 miles, inside and out, bumper to bumper.
Save up to $13,757 on the 2018 Texas Titan XD, or save up to $2,500 on Frontier.
Now the most exciting tech you own is in your driveway.
Be sure to free up some time for the Freedom Sale at Conn's Home Plus. Combine our lowest appliance prices of the season with free next-day delivery and get 3 years interest-free. And for stress-free financing with low monthly payments, go to Cons.com to apply and get approved for your yes money before you shop. Then hurry into the Freedom Sale at Conn's Home Plus.
You want a better life at our best price. You deserve it at Conn's.
Looking for a more intelligent sedan? Hyundai has the Sonata and the Elantra. Both are a great deal more than just a great deal. Get up to $3,500 total savings or 0% APR on the 2018 Sonata. Visit buyhyundai.com.
We saw a rare upset last week. Bernadette Nuttall lost her race for re-election to the Dallas ISD School Board. She was a fixture there for almost a decade, but voters overwhelmingly chose Justin Henry instead. He's a father of 2, a former teacher, and now an attorney who is in studio with us this morning. Good morning to you. Congratulations as well.
Thank you. Good morning.
The board hasn't had the votes. The main thing that I guess voters want you to tackle is this tax ratifying election. They want you to get this, let them decide, voters decide on whether to raise taxes. You might be the final vote that's needed. Here's the deal, though. I don't want my taxes raised. Why should I support this?
And I agree with you. I mean, many of us don't want our taxes raised, but it comes down to a decision. I think we have a broken finance system at the state level in Austin. We're not going to get any additional resources. It's unlikely. Historically, year over year, they've given us less and less money. So it's very frustrating that us locally have to deal with that issue, but there's a lot of great programs happening in DSD, whether it's early childhood education. We passed a comprehensive racial equity policy last night at my first board meeting. So these great programs that are working for our kids, we can't expand them without additional resources. So I don't think anyone wants to raise taxes, but we're at a point where we have to make a choice, are our kids worth 13 cents?
And let's talk about that, Justin. This is a 13-cent tax increase per $100
yes.
Of your property value. It will include teacher pay raises, the way I understand it. Is it fair to put that on the voters?
And that's part of the discussion we had last night. I think it's very important that we compensate teachers. It was a very important part of my campaign. I really think we need to elevate the teacher profession and provide them and compensate them and reward them the way they deserve to be treated. So, I think whether it's fair or not, we need the resources to continue a program like that. So is it possible is a bigger question. We had a discussion last night, how else do we provide teachers with more compensation without bringing a TRE before the public? So
here's something that kind of perplexed me. The board passed the $1.5 billion budget expecting voters would approve this new tax in November. What happens if they don't approve it? You guys have already worked that money into the budget, haven't you?
If it doesn't get approved by the voters, we have to go back to the tax rate we're currently at, and they're going to have to readjust the budget. A lot of those things that we talked about are going to have to be removed. It's up to the administration ultimately, right? But the teacher compensation, the Office of Transformation Information, these new schools that we're seeing, these Montessori schools, these single gender schools, a tag dual language school, these schools that parents are really wanting for their kids, we're gonna have to roll back and scale back how we do that. And other initiatives that the district's focused on, strategic initiatives, will have to be cut back if we don't, take this before the voters and they agree that the TRE needs to be passed. One headline about you last week said that you have an appetite for change. What do you want to see changed immediately? Racial equity is one, and I chaired the Racial Equity Task Force about 3 years ago, and we didn't feel like we had the political will on the board, so we disbanded that committee. But here, a few years later, last night at my first board meeting, the board, consensus 9-0, passed a comprehensive racial equity policy, which means the schools and the kids in our district that have the highest needs are going to get more resources. So when you have kids dealing with trauma or social, emotional, or don't have an AP teacher, for example, we're going to organize at the district level to give them the resources they need to get where they need to be. So that's very important to me, that I like to hit the ground running. But then there's also the community aspect. We really want to engage. Our model in this campaign was opportunity for all, which means we want to get as many folks engaged in this city around public education as possible. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Well, congratulations to you, Justin Henry, the new Dallas ISD trustee for District 9. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. For years now, we have heard about a blue wave in Texas. Democrats very confident this November might be it. But should they be so confident? From the right, Mark Davis of 660 AM The Answer, and from the left, Rich Hancock from virtualnewscenter.com.
Thanks and good morning, everyone. Well, I'm a little bit giddy after the most recent primary results and seeing the blue wave across America, which started immediately after Donald Trump took office. But I think my friend Mark Davis might not see it quite that way.
Yeah, I'm going to say the wave may exist, but it's not going to reach the shore. Now, it is June. Let's remind everybody that it's June. There's a lot to go. But all this notion that Beto's going to beat Ted, that Lupe is going to beat Governor Abbott, that Pete Sessions is vulnerable, bless you all's hearts, as we say in Texas, but it's still Texas, and those are still 3 Republican wins.
You don't think that Pete Sessions is vulnerable?
Not in the least.
I think Colin Allred is going to wipe the floor with Pete Sessions. Full disclosure, I have actually gone out and walked the streets and campaigned for Colin Allred. That's my personal
Is it possible you're living in the bubble as a result of that because you're around people who believe that? All Pete does is win that district by about 15 or 16 points by average.
No,
What's different?
No, it's possible I live in the district and I've been watching Pete Sessions and his love for scammers for 20-something years. I think Pete Sessions is as vulnerable as anyone in Congress with the people who are, and it all depends on who shows up to vote.
Indeed.
It all depends on who shows up, and I think the right people are going to show up because Colin Allred beat Lillian Salerno by a huge margin, and no one thought that was going to happen.
Indeed so, and he's a good candidate. I don't want to say anything bad about him. He seems to be the kind of candidate who can come closer to Pete than almost anybody has. In our remaining 15, 20 seconds, does this blue wave enthusiasm lead to the possibility of a Governor Lupe?
I don't think quite so much because in a statewide race, it's still very much a blue state. Lupe was a good sheriff. I would say probably not.
So in general, so there's enough of the blue wave that you'll still be happy on Election Day?
If I get the Congress and the Senate. From the left, I'm Rich Hancock, virtualnewscenter.com.
From the right, Mark Davis, 660 AM, The Answer.
Republicans did spectacular flip-flops last week on those separating children. Who might pay a political price, though? Will there be one? It's a question we will ask next on Reporters Roundtable.
Does home improvement shopping feel like flushing your money down the toilet? You won't feel that way at Seconds and Surplus. With discounts of up to 50 to 90% on the latest home improvements, you can hold on to more of your money.
I like coming alongside the moms and the dads that are truly doing all they can to provide better for their kids. Thinking about all of the ways that they have to take care of their kids in a day while trying to get back on their feet. I can imagine that throwing a birthday party is probably not top of mind. My name is Paige Chenault. I'm the founder of the Birthday Party Project in Dallas.
Life is good, and at Robeson Ranch, a Robeson Resort community for active adults, it just keeps getting better. Come explore our exceptional resort lifestyle at Robeson Ranch. Tour stunning model homes featuring visionary designs. Then enjoy great food and discover for yourself our world-class resort lifestyle. Visit Robeson.com for details. Robeson Ranch, a life as big as Texas.
Introducing the all-new Volkswagen Jetta with 40 highway MPG and America's best bumper-to-bumper limited warranty.
Hurry in this 4th of July and get 1.9% APR for 60 months on new Jetta models. Release this Jetta S for $179 a month.
It's the great appliance and electronics event at Nebraska Furniture Mart. Take up to 48% off suggested retail on qualifying appliances. Save up to $550 instantly on select NFM Plus appliance bundles. Buy one Whirlpool pedestal, get one free. Combine the BOGO with great deals. This Electrolux laundry pair is $9.93 each. This Samsung 4K TV, just $7.79. 10% off NFM Plus TVs and audio, plus 24-month financing store-wide at Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Chapter.
Is home improvement shopping snatching all of your money? You won't feel that way at Seconds and Surplus. With discounts of up to 50 to 90% on the latest home improvements, you can hold on to more of your money.
This is Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley on WFAA.
Time now for Reporters Roundtable to put the headlines in perspective. Ross and Bud are back, and Bernadine Steptoe, Channel 8's political producer, joins us each Sunday for this segment, too. Let's start first, though, Ross, with his spectacular flip-flops last week. President Trump saying he could do nothing about the separated children. Then he did something. Ted Cruz, Greg Abbott, they both caved as well. Question is, will anyone pay a political price?
I don't think they're going to have a lasting political cost to this thing. You know, their voters moved out from under them on this. Republican voters remain pretty stout in their position on immigration, and they're pretty much with the Republican office holders on that. But the sight and the pictures of crying children and families separated at the border was too much first for the Democrats, then in particular for Republican women. And as those voters scooted away, the politicians turned their heads and scooted with them. So they made a pretty quick scramble.
No price to pay, Bud?
Well, you know, I think Trump's the one who might pay a price on this. He was the one who went out on gangplank and risked all this with a new zero tolerance policy. You know, then he brings everybody along with him. They start agreeing with him. He turns around, shoves everybody else off the gangplank, and you know, turns around and changes policy again. He even made fun of Ted Cruz's bill.
But that's nothing new.
President Trump often does that. He causes a lot of controversy. When it doesn't suit him, he flip-flops, goes on and moves on to something else. So I don't think that anyone would pay a price in this situation, unfortunately.
And look what Jason Villalba said about Greg Abbott. He said he ran like a squirrel, frightened squirrel.
Bernadine, you have a skeptical look. You keep shaking your head as well.
Well, because I don't think that anyone would pay that price, because, as Ross said, they move quickly enough. I'm thinking about the poll that Texas Tribune recently did, where it showed that Republican women were not happy with those images, as well as women in general. So they reacted in time, so no one would pay a price on this.
Let's shift off to a different topic or two. President Trump continues to slam Mexico, Texas's largest trading partner. He said that Mexico, quote, does nothing good for us. Is this good or bad for Texas? Ross, we'll start with you. Texas sends more things to Mexico than anywhere else in the world.
Well, you know, the NAFTA agreement is under renegotiation right now, and voters have flipped. When NAFTA first came up, Democrats and labor unions were against it, Republicans were for it. Now, if you look at the polling, a lot of Trump voters are against it. They're against globalism, they're against the Mexico-Canada trade pacts, and I don't think his Mexico bashing hurts him with his base voters.
Bud?
Texas sends hundreds of millions of dollars in exports to Mexico every year. Everything else that's shipped goes through Texas. It affects businesses, heavy machinery businesses, like Caterpillar's plant down in Seguin sends a lot. You know, there's creating a lot of uncertainty for Texas jobs.
You keep saying no, Bernadine.
Well, because this is, again, nothing new. Trump attacked Mexico back in April, and they need each other. So regardless of what Trump says, they both need each other.
Let's shift off to our final topic here in Roundtable. Beto O'Rourke, Congressman from El Paso, he zeroed in on private prison contracts. Bud, I'll start with you on this one. He said the big prison and detention companies have too much political influence. Are they a player?
Well, he's looking at, you know, the private prison companies like the GEO Group are the biggest contributors to 2 or 3 Texas congressmen. They've given contributions to quite a few others. Then you look at the big money that Southwest Key spends. That's the group that was involved in all the juvenile detention this week. Yeah. The CEO of that company makes almost $800,000 a year. There's big money in private prisons. They push for more enforcement and more arrests because that means more jail beds and more money for private prisons.
Bernadine, final word.
And where you have a lot of money, you have influence.
Good deal.
So absolutely.
Thank you guys very much. We appreciate it, and thank you for watching as well. Bud, Ross, Bernadine, and I will be back with you next Sunday. ABC's This Week starts in just a moment. Hope you have a good week.